Today is a very big day, my friends, because Chaos Cubed is here. Well, as of like 2 days ago, but I'm making the video today. So without further stalling, let's go ahead and jump straight into the launcher first and see what they've changed. Before we get started, I'm gonna cut in here and just with a quick disclaimer. That intro was from like 2 weeks ago. I've been trying to make this video that long, because in between recording that intro, I had a bunch of stuff going on with work. I went on a vacation, and then when I got back from the vacation, I got sick. So we're not having a good time. And then this is the second time I've recorded this intro because in the process of me trying to record this intro the first time, my microphone was not just muted, it was completely broken because it wasn't behaving well yesterday, so I completely uninstalled the software and then I forgot to set it back up. So we're off to a great start. Anyways, let's start in the launcher and see what is new in Minecraft 26.2. So we are in the launcher, and straight off the bat, you'll notice the new mob, which is the Sulfur Cube. And what's cool about this mob, as we'll find out later in the video, it's basically a cousin to the slime and magma cube because it hops around. The only difference being you can interact with it, and as they show in the launcher, you can feed it different blocks. So this one has blue ice, this one maybe has gravel, this one has TNT, this one has a sponge, this one has magma, and depending on what you feed it, it'll make it behave differently. So it'll bounce more if you feed it wood, or it'll slide along the ground if you feed it blue ice. And this is what they call archetypes, which are basically like abilities, personalities, kind of. And it's really cool. We'll get into that later in the video. Another thing they changed is they obviously changed the banner art, as they do with every update. And then over here, you can see some of the new blocks they added, which is the sulfur set and the cinnabar set. We'll also get to those later. And we also got some new hanging stuff, whatever that is. So without further ado, let's get into the game and test all of this out for real. And one more thing before I forget. If I move myself out of the way, down here you can see the latest release is 26.2. Now, that is everything. So now we can officially jump into the game and go over all of these new exciting features. So we are in our world. I almost said snapshot world, but that's not true. We are in the official update. We are in Minecraft 26.2, as you can see in the top right of the screen. And with that out of the way, let's officially go through everything in this update, because there's some stuff that is objectively some of the best stuff they've ever added. Starting with the new mob, the Sulfur Cube. I mentioned this briefly when we were going over the stuff in the launcher, and there's a reason I said it behaves like a cousin to the slime in Magma Cube, because it bounces. But unlike those mobs, it comes in a bucket form so you can pick it up, and it also comes in a spawn egg form. But what is different about this mob is, unlike the slime and magma cube that just bounce around, I mean, the sulfur cube does too, but you can interact with it by feeding it different blocks, and this is what I mean. So if we get some magma cubes, if we feed this one ice and then this one wood, you can see that they stop moving. And as far as I can tell in my testing, you can only feed this one blue ice and not the other ice, which I don't know if they've changed it since then, but I guess we can try. Yeah. Oh, okay. You can feed it packed ice and blue ice, but not regular ice, which is weird. But if we smack them, they will behave differently. Except these three, which are all ice. But this one, if you smack it, it goes all the way down that way. And we are at -405. So if we go all the way this way, it should stop at some point. But you can really hit this thing far. I just don't know how far. Yikes. It must have went pretty far. Okay, there it is. So we were at -405, and we are at -405. We are now at negative or positive 143. So we hit it like 300 blocks-ish, which is insane. But once again, if you smack it, it can really just get all the way out that way. I mean, it's really cool how it works. I mean, like if you can contain it somehow, you could literally make volleyball in Minecraft. And that's the nice part about these archetypes is depending on what block you feed it, you can make different sports. So like how with the wood, you can do volleyball. But once we get back over here and test out the ice archetypes, can also do like bowling or hockey because I mean, just like that one bounces, this one just slides along the ground. Maybe the grass wasn't the best example to do it though. We'll have to test it on a different surface. But like, I mean, it's just so much fun to do. That one went all the way that way. But anyways, that covers the Sulfur Cube for the most part. I mean, you can do a bunch of different things with it. In fact, while we're messing around with it, can we break this and then go here and then go like that? Oh, okay. But you get the idea. You're meant to go bowling because I mean, if we go like this, feed it blue ice. There we go. It'll just slide along the ice and then bounce back at the end and it should return. So if we go here and then go like that, there we go. Kind of like bowling. You can do bowling, and if you feed it wood, you can do volleyball. But anyways, that covers the Sulfur Cube for the most part. I mean, you can do a bunch of different things with it. In fact, while we're messing around with it, this TNT is what we need. If you take some TNT, if we go inside here, if we go here, we spawn a Sulfur Cube, and then feed it some TNT, get a flint and steel, you can literally make the Sulfur Cube explode. There we go. And then we'll just have to put this back because it broke it. I mean, this Sulfur Cube is so unique for that reason. And then, like, this is also why I built this obsidian enclosure, and it also interacts with honey blocks too. But the reason I built this obsidian enclosure is kind of like how I told you if you feed it wood, you can play volleyball. This is why I built the enclosure. And it just bounces all over the place. And you can see it interacting with honey, how it gripped it right there. It's just so much fun. Anyways, enough about the Sulfur Cube. We've gone through every... Get in there. Get in there. There we go. So that's the Sulfur Cube. It's so unique. It's unlike anything we've had before in the game. And it is so much different than the Slime or Magma Cube because those two just, you know, bounce around in the overworld and the nether all the time. Like, I mean, you can bring them in between the nether and the overworld. But, I mean, those are their respective biomes. Why would you? And they also just, like, bounce around. You really can't interact with them. But the Sulfur Cube, you can. It's so cool. And being able to scoop it up in a bucket is really nice, too, if you want to move it around. But that's the Sulfur Cube. The next part in this update is a new music disc. It's called Bounce by Fingerspit. And this is another thing that I've really come to enjoy with the newer updates because for the longest time, these music discs were made by one person, C418. He made the music discs from when Minecraft first started all the way up until around 1.16 came out in either June of 2020 or July of 2020. With the Nether update that year, they introduced Pigstep, which was the first time a creator other than C418 made music for the game. It was made by Lena Rain, and she's actually made another music disc since then called Creator. But it's so cool that they've started branching out to music artists outside of just one person. Like, they should have started this years ago. It's just so cool because it gives them a chance to put music in the game and then get recognized for it. And it gives them some recognition otherwise that they probably wouldn't have had if they probably didn't put music in the game. They should have made these changes when they first started making the game of having different artists put different tracks in the game since day one. It would have probably went so much better. And that's saying something because it's gone over so well since they started doing it. It's actually amazing. Obviously, since it's a music disc, I don't want to get copyright struck. So I'm going to let you guys play it in your own games because I also don't want to, also get a copyright infringement. But that's the new music disc. It's called Bounce. This next one is kind of a minor feature, but it's also Bedrock exclusive. It's not anywhere on Java. It's called Bedrock Parties, which are 15-player groups, and that's basically what it is. it's a larger version of multiplayer where you can have up to 15 people. I do not know off the top of my head what the maximum amount of multiplayer can be on Bedrock, because I don't play Bedrock, I play Java. But if it's lower than 15, this is a nice change. I just really don't play Bedrock. You guys will have to let me know if you want to see this video of going over Bedrock parties, and maybe I'll make that a video in the future. But another thing in this update, and objectively two of the bigger ones, are the new block sets. Because with every update, we get new block sets. We get between 1 and 2 new block sets. And if we're lucky, sometimes we'll get more. And these two sets being the Cinnabar set and the Sulfur set, which are red and yellow. And then obviously because they're full set, that comes in walls, slabs, stairs, and then the block forms. And then out of the block forms, it gets the natural, the chiseled, the polished, and the bricks. I was so excited when they announced these for this update, because back when the snapshot phases were happening for 26.2, I remember going into these snapshots and being so excited about these new block sets, because we do not have a red brick before this. I know we had the regular brick, but it wasn't really this style of red. And I say that because if we go and do other red stuff like red concrete and red terracotta, it fits very nicely in a gradient, because before this update, this brick did not exist. Like if you wanted to do a gradient, too bad, you couldn't. You only had these two, not a third option. And it's the same for the sulfur set too, because we didn't have a yellow brick. And haha, very funny, yellow brick road. Had to do that one, I'm sorry. But anyways, if we do the sulfur set, if I could spell, there we go. So we have sulfur bricks, and then obviously it comes in all these variants. But just like with the Cinnabar bricks that allowed us to complete the red variant, these allow us to complete the yellow variant, which is very nice because we can do yellow concrete, yellow terracotta that does not look yellow, but also I'm partially colorblind. But it allows us to do a gradient just like with the red, and it looks so nice. And besides, it also makes a very nice different sound, unlike the other bricks in the game. I mean, just listen. And then obviously the Cinnabar ones also make a different sound. It's just really nice, especially when you factor in that the other bricks make the exact same sound. Like if we grab stone brick and then deep slate brick, they make the exact same sound. Okay, maybe these two don't, but this brick and then like the stone bricks, the other bricks in the game that aren't these bricks, they make the exact same sound. Literally the exact same sound between these two, but these two make unique sounds. And then obviously the deep slate has their own unique sound, which is nice because I like it when we get new sounds. But that covers the block sets. And then obviously we covered this when we went to the Sulfur Cube. We covered that one in there. And then this was also just related to the TNT one. Another thing they added in this update are geysers and a new biome, the Sulfur Caves. So we're going to hop into a different world so we can see those things as what they look like generated naturally. So I'm going to load up a new world really quick, and we're going to see the new biome and some geysers. So we're in our new world to find the geysers and the sulfur caves and the sulfur cubes all naturally. And what I'm going to do is just locate the biome. Hopefully it's not too far away. So we're going to do sulfur caves. We're going to hit enter. It is at 87, -10, -321. Only 357 blocks away, which is not bad. But anyways, we're going to go into creative, so that way we don't suffocate and die, because I have a feeling it's going to put us in a wall again. So we're going to go into creative, we're going to hit this, hit enter.
Bruh.
Yep, I was correct. Mojang, if you're watching this, please fix this at some point. Please. This is the third video I've made where this has happened, and it's really annoying. But anyways, we're going to go into spectator. Ooh. And would you look at that, the sulfur caves are right here, and they're pretty big too. We need some night vision if we're going to see all of this. So we're going to give night vision, not nausea, and not breath of the Nautilus. Night vision, please, and thank you. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Wow. And it's huge too. Oh wow. This is stunning. Even the zombies like it too. Oh my gosh, and the sulfur cube spawns naturally. Duh. I mean, that was a given that it was going to spawn here naturally. I am going to put it in peaceful. Also, that's another thing I forgot to mention when going in the game launcher. They put these buttons here in this update. These are new. Basically, before you would have to go into the website to report bugs and give feedback, and then also to like report players or something. But in this update, they changed it to where instead of having to go to external sources to report bugs, to give feedback, or to report somebody, they built buttons to where you can do it directly inside of the game, which is so nice because now you can do it all from inside the game, like I said, without having to go to external websites and sources to do it, which is such a massive quality of life improvement. This is much, much appreciated, even though I probably will never use it because I never do anything like this. Another thing they changed is before the world options used to be right here, and then the settings for like audio and video had a button right here, but they moved it because they had to put these buttons here. So instead, when they obviously added all this, they put the world options inside here. And then obviously all of those live inside of this category, which I'm going to say it's going to take some getting used to, like going here and then world options and then doing all that stuff. The new layout for this all is going to take some getting used to, but it's really not that big of a change. It's something very minor. But minor changes aside, let's explore the new biome. So we're going to go into peaceful. We are in peaceful. We are going to go in survival because ouch. At least we didn't land on a spike. The reason I want to go into survival is because it should give you nausea at some point, and that's what I want to see is like how this poison water reacts. If I can wait, okay. Is it gonna do anything? Come on, give me nausea already. That's so dumb to say, like give me nausea. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. Hello? It won't give me nausea. I want it to, because I want to test it out. Will this one? There we go. Basically, if you step into these waters, it'll do like it's doing right now and give you nausea, which is kind of disorienting, not gonna lie. Like it's twisting the screen around. It's not making me motion sick yet, but it could probably make some people motion sick. So if you get motion sick, do not step into this water in the sulfur caves. It's so cool though, because I mean, it makes the water actually fit into the biome that it's in. They honestly need to do this with every biome. Like, give the water some unique potion effect like that, just to make it more natural and fit in better. And it also just looks amazing. Another thing is obviously we have the sulfur spikes that spawn in this biome, along with all of the sulfur cubes and the new blocks, like the sulfur blocks and then the cinnabar blocks. It's beautiful. I honestly am so confused as to why they didn't put a biome like this when Caves and Cliffs came out, because they split Caves and Cliffs into two parts. Caves and Cliffs Part 1 came out in 2021, and then Part 2 came out in 2022. They missed an opportunity to put all of this into Caves and Cliffs. I do not understand why they did it. They missed a perfect opportunity to. But, I mean, it's just amazing. This honestly makes me want to build a base here, like underground, and live amongst the sulfur cubes. I mean, it's just amazing. Also, what's also really cool is if I can break this, hopefully I can break it with my fist. I cannot. But what I forgot to mention with the sulfur cubes is if you drop a block on the ground, they'll hop towards it and pick it up, which is really cool. It's so nice. That's pretty much it for the sulfur caves, because we get the water, the sulfur cubes, the new blocks and sulfur spikes. That's pretty much it for the new biome. But now I want to try and do or find a geyser, because another thing with this update is if you put lava and this block above the lava and then water on top of it, it'll make a geyser that will then shoot upwards. And depending on, I forget how it's structured, but depending on the amount or the space between the water and the blocks, that's how tall the geyser is. And also, depending on how tall it is, depends on how long it lasts. And you can basically use it like a bubble elevator with like moving upwards to a second floor or like transporting items upward. I don't know if I'll be able to get one in this video, but if I don't, at least it's there. Now, let's go on to the minor stuff in this update, the patch notes, because we've officially, for the most part, have covered everything. So without further ado, let's move on to the patch notes. So I have the patch notes pulled up on the website, and it says Minecraft Java 26.2 released. Chaos Cubed has landed in Minecraft Java Edition. Explore a striking cave biome filled with bubbling sulfur pools, build with sulfur and cinnabar, and discover the Sulfur Cube's curious appetite for blocks. From bouncing and sliding to explosive surprises, this unpredictable mob unlocks exciting new ways to build, compete, and survive. Play Chaos Cubed today in Minecraft. Obviously, because I have been playing it because I'm making a video on it. Happy mining. And also, like I mentioned earlier in the video, compete. Meaning, you can make sports depending on what block you feed it. Feed it ice, it slides on the ground, hockey or bowling. Feed it wood to make it really bouncy, volleyball or tennis. This is going to come in handy. We will be competing. Happy mining. And then obviously all the new features. So we got the Sulfur Cube, the Sulfur Caves, the Cinnabar and Sulfur block sets, the Sulfur Spike and Potent Sulfur block, new music disc with the track Bounce by Fingerspit, added 5 new music tracks by Fingerspit. There was a total of 5? We'll have to go back in and check that out. Added the friends list, which we saw in the buttons that they added. Added new settings for friends list and online options. Added experimental support for rendering the game through Vulkan. Added new option graphics API in video settings. Added Swiss, French, Chavash, Gallo, Uzbek, and Voro language support to the game. So those are all the new features. And then it just goes into detail about the Sulfur Cube. And it says added the Sulfur Cube, spawns in the new Sulfur Caves biome. When a player interacts with it while holding a block, the Sulfur Cube absorbs the block. Its AI is disabled, so when it means the AI is disabled, it won't move while a block is absorbed. The Sulfur Cube becomes a physical object. It does not take fall or player damage. Players can punch and push it. It assumes one of the archetypes, and these are the personalities that I talked about in the beginning of the video. It says, it assumes one of the archetypes listed below, changing its physical properties to match the absorbed block. The player can interact with it using shears. This removes the absorbed block. The Sulfur Cube's AI is re-enabled. So it says, and these are all the different archetypes. I think there's like 12 of them or something. The Sulfur Cube will follow a player holding a block it can absorb. Interesting. We'll have to test that out in the next video. The Sulfur Cube can look for nearby block items and move towards them to absorb them. And then it says when killed, the Sulfur Cube splits into 2 smaller Sulfur Cubes. Smaller Sulfur Cubes can be fed slime balls to grow into large Sulfur Cubes. Oh, so you can like duplicate them over and over. A large Sulfur Cube can be picked up using an empty bucket. Sulfur Cubes cannot enter boats but can ride minecarts. That does not make sense. If it can't be put in a boat, how can it fit in a minecart? And then obviously dispensers got some changes. Dispensers can insert and swap blocks inside a Sulfur Cube, use shears to remove the held block, spawn a Sulfur Cube from a bucket of Sulfur Cube. Interesting. And then it says pufferfish are not scared by Sulfur Cubes, which is interesting. And this is the big stuff. Sulfur Cube archetypes, which are basically the personalities. So it says Noor and Sunny are playing football using the birch absorbed Sulfur Cube as a ball in a stadium. Steve is goalkeeping. This is what I mean. This is what happens when you add archetypes to the Sulfur Cube. You can make sports, and basketball is one of them. Or in this case, football, which is basically soccer, but oh well, in different countries other than the US, it's soccer. So it says each archetype is characterized by the speed of the Sulfur Cube when hit, how bouncy it is when colliding with blocks and collidable entities, as well as its ground friction, air drag, and if it floats in liquids. These are the following archetypes: regular, medium speed, medium bounciness, medium ground friction, and low air drag. It is buoyant, used when absorbing loose material and soil blocks. Bouncy, fast speed, high bounciness, medium ground friction, and low air drag. It's buoyant, used when absorbing wooden blocks. Slow bouncy, slow speed, high bounciness, medium friction, and medium air drag when absorbing stone-like blocks. So that's a bunch of slow. So it bounces slow, but bounces high. That's interesting. And then we have fast, light, slow sliding, fast sliding, sticky, explosive, hot, and that's it. And then obviously it goes into the sulfur cave biomes with added the sulfur caves, generates naturally underground. The sulfur cave biomes has bands of sulfur and cinnabar, spawns the new sulfur cube mob as well as cave spiders. Cave spiders now spawn in the sulfur caves. Oh my gosh. That's gonna make it so much more deadly because now they're not limited to the cave spider spawners in the other structures. Generates with sulfur pools, which contain potent sulfur. Interesting. And then this is the one I couldn't come across in this video, is the geyser, otherwise called the sulfur spring. It is a new feature which generates naturally above the sulfur caves. That's why I couldn't find it, because it wasn't in the caves, it was on the surface. Consists of sulfur, potent sulfur, and magma blocks. Sulfur springs come in 4 different size variants: small, medium, large, and extra large. And then the cinnabar and sulfur block sets. And then potent sulfur. And then the sulfur spikes. And then the new music disc. And then added 5 new background tracks by Fingerspit. So this will be like the game soundtracks, which is very nice. Added a new husbandry advancement for having a sulfur cube absorb a TNT block. Nice. And then friends list, which this is what it looks like, which is very nice. I like the layout a lot. And then the settings for the friends list, and then Vulkan support, and then a bunch of technical fixes, which is very nice. And then below the technical fixes, just some other changes. And then minor tweaks to blocks, item, and entities, sounds, UI, open to LAN. See, this is what I was trying to find in the video. These are the geysers, or the sulfur springs, and it is very nice to have this on the surface, because these would be like, hey, this marks where a sulfur cave is. And you can see that this shoots way up into the air, and it's blowing a sulfur cube up in the air. And doing this would probably be a very good alternative to a bubble elevator, which is nice. And then obviously we finally get into the technical changes, server properties, and then server management protocol 3.0, telemetry, and then a bunch of other stuff. And then these are all just like technical jargon that I'm not going to get into because this video is probably already very long. And then you have the commands and then attributes and stuff. So it's a decent list of changes. It just keeps going on and on forever though. And I really want to get into the bug fixes because they have a decent amount of bug fixes with every update. This is so cool, like just seeing the glow squid and the magma and the sulfur spikes and the sulfur and cinnabar and stuff. It's very nice. And then, are they not adding any bug fixes? It just seems like they added a bunch of stuff. Here we go. Fixed bugs in 26.2. Ocelots do not spawn naturally on peaceful difficulty in jungles and bamboo jungles. Huh. These are one of those bugs that you don't realize happens because you don't encounter it, and then you're like reading through the patch notes the next update, and then they fixed it, but you never knew about it because you never saw it happen. Yikes. The number of advancements said to be revoked from the player is incorrect. Huh. Making a zoomed out version of a map fails when using the pick block key. Interesting. The secondary beacon effect remains when switching the primary effect. Also unusual. Piglins and hoglins cannot spawn naturally on peaceful difficulty. That's also weird. The side and button surfaces of waterlogged blocks Z-fight when looking at them from a distance. Okay. Spore blossom particles gradually disappear / lessen until the world is reloaded, which is strange. Picking up an axolotl with a lead attached destroys the lead. Also never encountered that one. The ambient and axolotl mob caps both display as A in the debug overlay. Player's sneaking state can sometimes desync. Also never encountered that one. Unused pixels and bed textures. I never had that one happen to me either. Bed items produce wool particles, but bed blocks produce plank particles. Interesting. And then it just goes on and on with bug fixes. I mean, this is a long list. Yikes, it just keeps going. Okay. And then it says just to get the release, download the update, report bugs, give feedback, all that stuff. But we got a decent amount of bug fixes in this update. We love to see it, Mojang. We love to see it. This always makes me happy when they're fixing a long list of bugs. It's really nice. But anyways, that is it for the patch notes. Now, let's give our final thoughts on this update, and that'll be the end of this video. Overall, I love Chaos Cubed. It is probably one of the best updates we've ever gotten. I know I say that every single update we get, but the Sulfur Cube being so different from a Slime or Magma Cube in the way that you can like feed it any block in the game for the most part, and each block gives it a unique ability or an archetype, and the fact that it can interact with stuff like that, whereas the Magma Cubes and the Slimes are just like in the overworld and the nether and just bounce around. It makes it so unique, and I wish they would have added this mob sooner. And like the new music disc is really cool because it highlights a new artist. They should have also done that years ago of adding new music discs from different artists because it gives them some recognition. It was nice to see all of the bug fixes because we'd love to see it because that means the game is less glitchy and maybe less broken sometimes. It's just a really solid update. You guys will have to let me know in the comments, what do you think of this update? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you on the fence about it? Let me know in the comments below. And what are your thoughts on the Sulfur Cube? What sports do you have in mind? Are you going to make golf, volleyball, soccer, basketball? What sports are you going to build with it? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss all of this further. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye. I love this update so much. I'm going to use the new block sets of the Cinnabar and Sulfur bricks all the time for a while. They're probably going to be my most used blocks for like the next month. And I freaking love the Sulfur Cube too. That's so cool. I have so many sports in mind. I'm going to build volleyball. I'm going to build soccer. I'm going to build basketball. I'm going to build all the sports.